Hey everybody, I'm back for another video in the 5 things I like about insert team series. So I've done all of the Atlantic. I think I'm roughly halfway through or almost done the Metro as I'm filming this video. Of course, I still have the Central Division to do and the Pacific Division as well. So lots of teams left to do. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about the Carolina Hurricanes, if you can't tell by the thumbnail, the title, and my attire and the lights in the background. So Carolina is a team that kind of flies under the radar a little bit, and I started to follow them I would say about 2 years ago, and they kind of rose up my list of teams that I enjoy watching, and I was really happy with the success that they had last year. So it actually wasn't very difficult for me to come up with 5 things that I like about the Carolina Hurricanes, and I'll let you know what those are right now. Number 1, underdogs. Now you could argue that the Carolina Hurricanes aren't an underdog at all. Look at their year last year. They were a dominant team, and they're playing very well this year. How could they possibly be an underdog? But I don't necessarily mean underdog in the sense of performance, but also, how do I word this? Like, when you look at a team from the outside, not just about performance, but how they're viewed by the rest of the fans around the league, the media, all that. And when you look at everything from the outside and the performance, they don't really get a lot of attention, regardless of how well that they do. So in that sense, they kind of are an underdog. They're not talked about very much. They're not followed very much. You don't see them on the headlines of papers in Canada, and probably none in America either. So they're kind of a team that's flown under the radar for the most of their life, I guess, other than 2006 when they won the Cup. They defeated Edmonton. Very disappointing year for me because I was cheering hard for Edmonton at the time, and but yeah, they're. I think that's a. You could look at that as a negative, but I look at that as a positive. I wouldn't want people to have expectations of me to be the best team in the league every year, maybe like a Washington or a Pittsburgh. Carolina has the advantage of wowing fans and new fans with their strong play these days, and the silly things that grab attention, like the storm surge at the end of the games they were doing last year. And the new ownership has been great for the team, I think. So that's just maybe put them in the spotlight a little bit more and really proved how much of an underdog they actually are, because even though all the things that they've done recently with the new ownership, like bring back some of a jersey and created a new jersey and the storm surge and all that stuff, even with all that stuff, and the new media attention that they have gotten, they're still really not talked about that much. So they're still kind of under the radar, kind of that underdog, and I really appreciate that. I always cheer for an underdog, so they've got my vote there. Number 2, coaching. Rod Brind'Amour is a name that you should be familiar with, especially if you are an older person like I am. Not that I'm that old, but I mean, when I was growing up watching hockey, Rod Brind'Amour was a player. He was one of the best players in the league. He always played that kind of hard-hitting, gritty style of hockey. He was a good leader most of his career, and he has proven that he is still a good leader as he's the coach of the Carolina Hurricanes. He came in recently to the team. I think he's done a really fantastic job with that group, and not just as far as play structure, but as far as like camaraderie with the players. There are certain styles of coaches who are not friends with the players and are pretty stubborn and aggressive, and they yell and stuff. Then you have kind of calm coaches who enjoy being friends with the players more, but still leading and still getting their respect. And I think Rod Brind'Amour does a really good job at that. I think he's not only the coach of the team, but also a friend of the players on the team. So that can be a dangerous line to walk, but I think Rod Brind'Amour does a really good job. I loved seeing him in the playoffs last year, and what he said about the team, what he said about like just the players as general, as people, not just as players, but as people. He had some really positive things to say about each individual in the team. I like his interviews. I think he's fantastic, and I think he fits perfectly in Carolina. Hope to see him there for a long time. Number 3, ownership. Now, I've already spoken about this a little bit earlier in this video, but when the new owner came in, he did things like bring back the Hartford Whalers jersey, which caused some controversy, but he did other things like they have a new white jersey this year. What else did they do? The Storm Surge, I guess he didn't really do that, but he has kept the team, or has committed to keep the team in Raleigh for, I believe, the next 7 years, and that was announced last year, so I think maybe 6 years left to go on that contract. So the Carolina Hurricanes aren't going anywhere for at least the next 6 years. That's a pretty big statement for a team that was really struggling to draw a crowd. And I think he's done a lot locally to bring new fans in. And if you watch a Carolina Hurricanes game now, it's pretty packed. They've done a fantastic job at marketing the team to new fans in that area. They have a huge following now. It's quite amazing. It's really great to see a team have a big turnaround like that. So that's really important, and it's not all to do with the ownership, but a big reason is to do with the ownership. And it's amazing that can happen, and we can see it happen because we know that there's other teams that really need that, like really, really need that. Maybe Florida specifically. And it's frustrating because if it can happen in one market like Carolina Hurricanes, or like for the Carolina Hurricanes, then we know it can happen for the Florida Panthers or another team that's maybe struggling a little bit in the same areas. So why doesn't it happen? Why can't we get ownership like in Carolina somewhere else? So it's really positive to see success from the ownership, or by the ownership's doing in Carolina. I really like it. Number 4, logos. If you're familiar with my content, you'll know that I like jerseys and I like logos. I like things that look pretty. I like aesthetics. That's why I have a jersey for every single team. That's why I have multiple jerseys from most teams and some international jerseys, thanks to some wonderful people out there who've sent them to me. I love looking at logos. I love ranking them. And the Carolina Hurricanes ensemble of logos is pretty fantastic. I do really like this logo. The more I look at it, the more I do like it. I have a few gripes with it, but it's not a big deal. Their secondary logo, which is here on this specific jersey. Now they've kind of updated their secondary logo, and then with their third jersey from last year, which they sometimes still wear, I mean, that is an incredible logo. So I really like their whole closet of logos that they've used over the years. And also, they're called the Hurricanes. I'm a big weather geek, so if you're gonna name your team after a freaking storm or weather system, heck yeah, that's pro. And you make a logo about it, thumbs up. Number 5, Sebastian Aho. I don't really know what it is about Finland that I love so much, but when I look around the league, I can say, oh, my favorite player on that team is this person. Oh wait, they're Finnish. And my favorite player on this team, oh, they're Finnish too. I would say maybe 10 to 15 teams in the league of my, like if I look at the team, favorite player, they're going to be Finnish. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the names that I like. I don't know if it's the style of play. I don't know if it's because a lot of Finns are smaller, I guess, and that's kind of the style of hockey that I played. I was a bit small as a kid, and when I played hockey, I was always, I don't know, battling above my weight, I guess that you could say. And Sebastian Aho kind of reminds me of that. He's skinny. He tries to play physical, but kind of gets pushed around a little bit and stuff. And I really like the grittiness. I like the skill game from Sebastian Aho. And there are a lot of Finns you can say the same thing for. And I love the country of Finland just in general. My favorite player of all time, Saku Koivu, is Finnish. And maybe that's where it comes from as well. Since Saku Koivu, I've always paid more attention to Finnish players. I have some good friends in Finland. So for whatever reason, I always pay more attention to Finnish players and also Swedish players too. There's a lot of Swedish players that I like, but in this particular sense, I'm talking about the Finnish Sebastian Aho, not the Swedish Sebastian Aho, because there is a Swedish Sebastian Aho as well. But we're talking about the Finnish one, obviously, on the Carolina Hurricanes. I like the style of play. I like his number, as silly as that is. Yeah, I cheer for Sebastian Aho, and heck yeah. So anyways, that kind of wraps up this video. That was the last one. So thanks, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. If you are following this entire series, thank you so much for joining me in this little bit of a journey, I guess. It's a fun process for me. It gets me thinking in a different way, especially for the teams I don't necessarily like. I get to try and come up with things that I do like about the team, and then I end up feeling better about those teams and maybe not hating them as much, or not that I hate any team, but I dislike teams less, I guess. So yeah, it's a fun process. If you have not seen any of my previous videos in this series, I encourage you to go back and watch them. Maybe leave a comment. Tell me the 5 things that you liked about each specific team. And of course, on this video, leave your comments down below and tell me the 5 things you liked about the Carolina Hurricanes. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, I hope you can go down and hit the subscribe button. That would be awesome to join me for future videos. And I will see you in those future videos. Adios.